Hi there, this is Allison with Let's Go Travel Tips. Today is Friday, June 17th, and we have lots to talk about. We've got lots of updates and lots of information. So first of all, I would like to welcome all of our Let's Go family members, and welcome to all of you who are new. We are really glad that everyone is here with us, so thank you. If anyone hasn't subscribed yet, we would sure love it if you would subscribe to our channel, and I think that you are thoroughly going to enjoy and benefit from being a member of our Let's Go family here. We have an amazing community. So I do want to let you all know, first of all, that this evening at 8 p.m. Eastern, we are going to have a live, and we have been trying to add in more lives on Friday nights, but this one is extra special because we get to be part of the Cruise-a-thon for Helping Hands for Cruising with the Down Under Cruisers. They are doing a whole 24 hours of people who enjoy cruising and have things to talk about, covering the different hours. So this evening at 8 p.m. we get the chance to do that for 1 hour, and then tomorrow at 10 our time, so I think it's at noon Eastern time, we are going to be on again for a couple of hours. So I really hope that you can join us at one time or another or both. Please bring your questions and things to talk about. We'd love to have you join us. So thank you. Now let's start off with today. The FDA just announced that they have approved the Pfizer vaccine for children 6 months and up. That is huge news. They have been working on that and having to keep trying, and they finally have got it. So I think that is wonderful news. Now, the COVID health protocols for Princess do not cover that yet. They are dated June 16th, and I know they came out late yesterday because when I looked earlier in the day, they weren't there. But I just wanted to make sure that you all know that I'm guessing that we are going to have some updates coming with regard to that that vaccine announcement for children 6 months and up. So I will keep my eye on that for you. But as of today, here is what they are asking. So we do have lots of new Let's Go family members here, so I thought this would be a good time to just do a quick recap so that everyone knows what to expect, and so that will include the new information that Princess is supplying in the update. So first of all, if you're going to cruise right now, you have got to be vaccinated. And so you have to show proof of that at embarkation. If you're not vaccinated, you need to be have an exemption in order to be able to sail. Now, it depends on where you're going, what the different, and where you're cruising out of, what the different requirements are. And so what I'm going to talk to you today are about the updates for sailings from the United States and from Canada. So you need to be aware, and this is really important, that if you are going on a cruise that leaves from Canada, that ends in Canada, or that calls at a port in Canada, you have to follow the Canadian requirements. And it doesn't matter if you are sailing on the West Coast with the Alaska sailings or on the East Coast of Canada with the New England sailings. These requirements are the same, and they are in place until announced otherwise. So Canada is requiring that if you are 12 or older, you either have to be vaccinated or have an exemption. And Canada is only allowing medical exemptions. They are not allowing exemptions for any other reason. And so if you are not vaccinated, and it's not because you are not medically able to be vaccinated, and you are booked on one of these cruises, call your cruise line and make sure of what your standing is to be able to go on that cruise, because the rules are set forth by Canada. They don't vary by cruise line. So that is a really important thing to know. Another important thing to know is that if you are going to embark on a ship that in the United States, everyone who is age 2 and over has to show proof of a negative COVID test at embarkation. That's really important to know. And so the time frame on those tests are, if you are vaccinated but you have not received a booster, if you're just vaccinated, you get to have 2 days to do the antigen test, and it's like within 2 days of embarkation. So like if you're sailing on a Saturday, you can get your test on Thursday or Friday or even Saturday morning. And or if you're doing the PCR test, you get 3 days. If you have your booster, then you get to have 3 days to do the antigen test and 3 days to do the PCR test. And if you are not vaccinated, you've got to do the PCR test within 3 days. Also, if you are embarking on a voyage from Canada, you need to do your antigen test within 2 days. and your PCR test within 72 hours. I think it's a very important distinction within 72 hours and 3 days, because 72 hours is 3 days, but when they say 72 hours, you need to pay attention to what the embarkation time is and make sure that you don't get tested before that time so that you are within 72 hours of embarkation when you get tested. I hope that makes sense, but that's really very important. So be aware of that. And children who are age 2 to 4 on these Canadian sailings will be required a medically observed negative test, a PCR test within 3 days of embarkation. Now they have added a little bit more clarification on what the testing requirements are if you are on a land tour before your cruise or after your cruise. So let me just tell you right now with Princess, they say that if your cruise is first and then you're going to go on the land tour, there is no more testing. They don't test you in between. If you are going to go on your land tour first, you do need to do a COVID test before you go. And the test has to be done, and mind you, these have to be medically observed tests, so you can go to your Walgreens or your CVS or your pharmacy or your Instacare, anywhere like that, or you can get the tests that you can order from eMed or Optum and do with a healthcare provider in a video phone call with you. Those work as well. And so if you're going to do that, you need to have your antigen test taken within 2 days of going on your land tour, or if you're going to do a PCR test, you've got 3 days to do that. And then once you get done with your land tour, before you get on your cruise, you're going to have to be tested again, but that test will be provided by Princess and you don't have to pay for it. It's a good reminder here too that I think a lot of us are aware that we had the rule that if you were going to fly into the United States, you had to have a negative COVID test. Make sure that you know that that requirement is gone, and so you can fly home from anywhere in the world to the United States, or if you're coming from another country to the United States, you can fly in without a negative COVID test anymore. So that really simplifies things trying to come. People who are trying to fly home from like Quebec or from, well, anywhere in Canada, Vancouver, any of the places that the cruises end, that then people are trying to return to the United States. So I thought that was wonderful. The next update here that they have got is, I want to remind everyone, if you have had COVID, remember, if you have COVID, you might test positive for a long time, even when you're over it. And so if you want to go on a cruise, if you've got a cruise booked and you've had COVID, you need to have had COVID within 90 days, but not within 10 days. So it has to be at least 10 days since you tested positive, but it can't be more than 90 days. And you just bring that positive test result with you, and it needs to be the same kind you would need to board a ship. So if you've got a cruise scheduled and you test positive at home, go get a real COVID test done so that you have those official results to show, or else do one with the Abbott Laboratory tests that we order, and do it with the provider on the video call so that you've got that. That is all you have to take to the ship. You just take that at embarkation, and they are going to talk to you. The medical team is going to make sure that you don't have any symptoms and you are fully recovered, and then you can go on your cruise. You don't have to show a test because you could easily test positive. So that's the rule with that. Another update that you should be aware of is, remember that right now masking is optional. They recommend it, but it is optional, except for on cruises that are the north and southbound cruises between Whittier and Vancouver. Those are requiring a mask when you're indoors, if you're not eating or drinking, or if you're not in your stateroom. And so we are hearing of some masking being required on some different ships. And so those are one-off things. It is for a certain voyage that you hear masking will be required. And so just be aware of that. If you hear that masking is required on a cruise ship on a voyage, it could easily not be required on the next voyage. If it is going to be required on your next voyage, I believe that you will receive communication stating that. And so do give us the update if you hear that, because it helps all of us know what's going on, but it also helps people who are on the same voyage of you who maybe missed the email. I think that is really important, because if you get a lot of email, it's easy to miss one. Now, the other thing I want to make sure everybody knows is, if you are going to go to Canada on a cruise, whether you're going to go to Vancouver and embark on a cruise, or if you are going to call at a Canadian port while you're on your cruise, you have to do the ArriveCan app. There is no way around it. You need to do it if you're going to go at a land crossing. You need to do it if you're going to fly in. You need to do it if you're coming on a cruise ship. Okay, so don't think it doesn't apply to you. It really does. And the only reason I tell you that is a Let's Go family member said that they were on one of the Princess transfers, the buses from SeaTac up to Vancouver, and there were people on the bus that thought it didn't apply to them. So be aware you have got to do that ArriveCan app. And if I figure out any tips, I'm waiting until Gordon and I are within 72 hours. I will let you know. But when I have looked at it before, I think it seems really straightforward. But I do know you really can't do much with it until you're within that 72-hour window. So just keep that in mind. So I'm not going to even worry about it until we're within that 72-hour window. Then finally, just a reminder to everyone that has an exemption or has children with you who are not vaccinated, you might not be able to go ashore in all ports. It says they do say that if you have someone with you who is has an exemption or who isn't vaccinated, that you have to go on princess only excursions. And so I wanted just to make sure that everybody is aware of that. Luckily, the cruises that are going, I think Princess has really, really good excursions. And so that is everything about the COVID health protocol updates. If you've got questions about it, don't hesitate to put them in the comments and we'll do our best to address them. Now, there's a couple of things that I wanted to ask for y'all's input on. First of all, one of you commented saying that you are hearing that Skagway is being removed from a lot of cruise itineraries for 2023. And so, and additionally, to go along with that, someone else commented and said, so a lot of the people who are announcing itinerary changes must be on the Majestic for 2023. And you know what? I am not in that loop. And so I've seen a few things about it, but I have not heard it from anyone that firsthand. And I try to be really careful and only share accurate information. So if any of you have received information on that, I would really like to hear from you about it. I will keep digging around and see what I can find out about Skagway. But thank you very much. If you have got any information on any of that, I would just love to hear from you. And tomorrow also, thank you all for your input on insurance. I'm gathering all of that and making it so that it's easy to present. And so I'll talk to you about that tomorrow. But if any of you have not shared any experience or insight that you have got regarding the insurance that you get when you cruise, will you please put that in the comments as well? We have gotten some really valuable information in the comments. So I look forward to hearing from all of you. The next, I want to give you an update here on the Crown Princess and on the Island Princess. Yesterday, I mentioned that we had not heard a word from the Crown Princess, and you all were so kind to respond. So I heard from a couple of you. And it sounds like things are going really, really well on the Crown Princess. It sounds like the toilet problems are completely gone. We heard from a first-time cruiser who went on the Crown Princess with her daughter, and they had the time of their life. An absolutely amazing time. And bless her, she even said, you know what, we went a little bit slower and didn't hit everywhere that was on the itinerary when we originally booked the cruise, but she said we had an amazing time. And she said that the day in Glacier Bay was sunny and absolutely glorious. So I am really, really happy to hear that. And I'm glad that a first-time cruiser glimpsed the magic of cruising on Princess. I am really glad for that, that she had that. We also heard from someone, so they are still on the Crown this week. Now, we heard from someone else who was just on the Crown last week, and they said they had a great time as well. They said that the service, the staff, and the food was great. They also said that they traveled a little bit slower, but every port they visited was just spectacular. They even had rough seas as they were coming into Victoria, and I'm wondering, is that pretty common? I hear of that so often, and back in 2014, when we went to Alaska for the first time, it was our very first cruise ever. We didn't get to go to Victoria because of rough seas, and it was beautiful. It was July, so maybe they always have, not always, but often have rough seas there. Anyway, but they still got to visit Victoria and just had an amazing time. And I love, she said, there are no toilet problems. She says they are now reminding people that only toilet paper should be flushed down. Otherwise, they had a great cruise. And so when we were just on the Regal Princess, I noticed that at some point it was announced to remember to only flush toilet paper. I think they have to announce that because especially first-time cruisers, maybe people don't know you don't put anything else in the toilet. And so other than, what you would think would go in the toilet. So that's everything that I've got on the Crown. Now, the Island Princess, I have heard from so many of you that you are having an amazing cruise on the island, that you have just had an amazing cruise on the island, and those of you who are on the Island Princess right now are having a really great time. I would love some more updates from you all, quite frankly. I have heard so many good things, and I have also gotten a couple that weren't quite as favorable, and that always distresses me a little bit. And I think that part of it is, it's like nobody's right or wrong. I think that people, we all have different expectations based on our life experiences, based on cruises that we've been on before, and just what we think might happen on the cruise that we're going to go on. I also know that there are glitches right now. There are always glitches, I think, in life, but I do know that the cruise lines, like so many other sectors of our society, are trying to work through some lingering effects of COVID that I think are probably going to be with us for a really long time, if not forever. And so you put all that together, and I think that there is a chance to be disappointed. And so I would really just like to hear from all of you. It sounds like things are going very well on the Island Princess, all in all. And so I think things are going really well there. We also, yesterday, I mentioned that with the shuffling around of some of the ships that Princess is doing right now, that one of our Let's Go family members mentioned that they had been assigned a cabin after their ship had been changed. They weren't crazy about it, so they called, and they were happy that they got a cabin that they really liked. Well, our Let's Go family member Chad commented and said that, if you don't recall, they just barely booked a cruise this week on the Regal Princess, and within 20 minutes of booking it, they got an email from Princess saying it's not going to be on the Regal, it's going to be on the Emerald Princess. And he said that they had booked a club class mini suite on the Regal, which had a huge balcony that wrapped around the front of the ship. And so when he looked at the Emerald Princess deck plans, that cabin is a full suite on the that cabin is a full suite on the Emerald Princess, with all the other club class mini suites being regular midship mini suites. There's not any that have the kind of balcony and view that he had booked on the Regal Princess. And so he was thinking of asking for an upgrade from Princess, and I think that is an amazing idea, and I think it's entirely appropriate. I think it is very appropriate for Princess to replace what they had booked on the ship with what is equivalent on another ship, and I think that suite is equivalent. And so I wanted to let you all know about that, because I thought that was a terrific insight from him. And so kind of put that into your mind as you look at where they perhaps move you to. Try to see if you can get the same kind of experience that you had booked on the ship that you originally booked. Okay, I thought that was really helpful. Now we've got an amazing Let's Go family member who was so kind. She is from England, and she loves Alaska, and so she sent her list of things that she suggests that we don't miss in Alaska. And you know what? I really appreciate them, because they would be different than what I would know to tell you. And so I was thinking that in the comments, we all might like to share some things that we wouldn't miss, whether it's in Alaska, whether it's in the Caribbean, no matter where it is. Put it in the comments so that we can all learn and maybe have some new fun experiences that we would not have had otherwise. So first of all, she says that when you're in Juneau, go on the helicopter ride to the glacier and do the dog sled. And that sounds like so much fun. Gordon and I have got to do that sometime. We've decided that this trip is not the time, but maybe next time. And so I really appreciate her. I remember our Let's Go family member, Jenny. She said that that is not to be missed as well. And so thank you so much. And then also she said that after any trip in Skagway, go into town and find the little theater that does a show called Days of 98. If you're not familiar, the gold rush in 1898, Skagway was a real hub for that. And so she said it's lots of fun, it's very inexpensive, and it's just wonderful. So thank you. I didn't know about that one. So we are either going to book an excursion that includes it, because Holland America has one, or we'll just go to it. And then she said in Skagway they also went on a seaplane to see the bears, and she also said keep your eye out when you're on the ship to see whales. So I really appreciate that. Now let me just tell you a few things that I wouldn't miss in going to Alaska. If I was going to Juneau, I would absolutely not miss seeing a glacier. I think that Juneau is the very best. And the easiest place to see a glacier if you are on one of the regular cruises that goes to Alaska. Of course, there's Glacier Bay, and that is absolutely spectacular. But you stay on the ship in Glacier Bay. But when you are in Juneau, you have the option to go over see the Mendenhall Glacier. You have the option to book an excursion that takes you up to see some other glaciers. You can helicopter to glaciers. There are lots of options, and I would not miss seeing a glacier one way or the other. I think that's a must. When you are in Skagway, don't miss the White Pass Railway. That train ride up the mountain through the canyon, clear up to the summit. This year it's not going clear to the summit, but it goes pretty close and then back down. I would not miss that. It is spectacular. Just absolutely phenomenal. So I wouldn't miss that. And then in Ketchikan, the thing that I wouldn't miss is, well, there's two things. Ketchikan is known for their salmon fishing. It's like the salmon fishing canning capital of the world, I believe. It used to be the number one place in the whole world for canning salmon, and maybe it still is, but they do so much salmon fishing there that if you are a fisherman or a fisher lady, you go salmon fishing in Ketchikan. The other thing that I would not miss in Ketchikan is the opportunity to see bears. It is one of the places that is the easiest to get to bears, and Princess has excursions, as well as I noticed Holland America does, that includes going to look for bears, or it takes you to areas where bears are often sighted. And so I wouldn't miss that. I think that is very worthwhile. And getting to see a bear, just trying to eat the salmon or walking the mama with the cubs is just a very, very special experience. So those are things that I would really not miss if I were going to Alaska. So thank you very much. I appreciate that. Now, the other thing that I wanted to tell everybody about is when you go on a cruise to Alaska, make sure that do your best to book a cruise that goes to Glacier Bay. Glacier Bay is just I don't think there's anywhere like it in the whole world. It's different than Antarctica. It's different than the Chilean fjords. I'm trying to think of where else it's different. It is just a place unto its own. And did you know that it is a World Heritage Site? And it's like millions of acres. It is extraordinary. And the only way that you get there is there's no cars, there's no roads to it. So you either have to go on a ship or a smaller boat or fly there. And so it is very much untouched. It's pristine. It is still a wilderness, much like I think when John Muir and Captain Vancouver, all of those people were exploring that region. Of course, glaciers, recede, and what is it when they come forward? But anyway, they do that, and so that little bit of the landscape is a little bit different, but other than that, it is remarkably the same. And so when you get on the ship, figure out where you're going to be on Glacier Bay Day. We have a balcony, but I also recommend that even if you have a balcony, get up on the top decks, because it is spectacular to take in the whole view all the way around the ship. And another thing that I thought, so figure that out in advance so that you're not like running when they say there's a glacier out there and you're like, well, how am I going to see it? So figure that out in advance. And the other thing that I would tell you is it's really fun to me that different cruise lines, I guess, go look at different glaciers. We've been to Alaska 3 times on Princess, and they always take us, all 3 times we've been down to see the Marjorie Glacier, and right next to it, is it the Grand Pacific? Maybe it's the Grand Pacific. I always, anyway, that glacier is right next to it, and then we see the John Hopkins Glacier and some other smaller glaciers. But on Holland America's information, they mention the McBride Glacier, so I am really excited to get to see a different glacier, and maybe there will be some other different glaciers too. But it is such a special day. Make sure that you get up early. It always starts early. Get up early. Be ready to go. It's just really exciting. They bring there's always a naturalist on board on these cruises, and then they bring the park rangers on board. It is really an extra special day. So just plan that whole window of time to be engaged. That's my best advice with that. Now, the last thing that I want to tell you about, and I know this is a little long, but I think all of this is really important. A Let's Go family member who was just barely sailing on the new Staten Dam took the time to send me an email and let me know some really helpful tips. It is really, really helpful to me. I am so grateful that she took the time to do this, and I thought it might be helpful to all of you who are first-time cruisers on Holland America or have only been a few times. And even if you've been a lot of times, sometimes, like we've been on Princess 13 times now, and I still learn new things from people, so it's wonderful. So first of all, they were just on May 22nd to June 5th, and she said, let's see, that when you arrive to the cruise port there, she said, remember the name of the ship and keep saying Holland America. For example, she said when you drop off your luggage, that the Princess luggage and the Holland America luggage is collected very close together. So make sure that the Holland America people get your luggage so that it doesn't go on the wrong ship. So now I've got that to worry about. So I'm going to pay a lot of attention. Then the other thing that she said is that when, this is really helpful, the Verifly app, it's V like in Victor, E-R-I-F like in Frank, L-Y. It's an app. It's not, they don't have a website. And I know Carnival and Holland America both use it for Embarkation, and it is really helpful, she said. It gets you through really quick, and Hetty had said that as well. And so make sure that you have got that, and make sure, she said, that you have got your boarding pass. In Vancouver, they asked for it, and she had taken a screenshot on her phone, which this is also a great tip. She took screenshots of like every document in case the Wi-Fi in the terminal wasn't really good, or sometimes if it's a metal building, it can kind of block your phone Wi-Fi as well. And anyway, so she had taken screenshots and it couldn't read the barcode on the screenshot she had taken. They very kindly printed her another copy, but she said for the boarding pass, they update those 24 to 72 hours before you sail, so print it again. I really appreciate that. Like I told you guys the other day, I already printed ours. And so print them again and have those with you. And she said then from there, you go into the customs area, and they do have a global entry line for anyone that's got global entry. And then as far as where to eat, I love these tips. She says the Indian South Asian main dining room breakfast option is her very favorite breakfast. If they are on board for lunch, they always visit the Asian buffet, which has sushi, and her husband likes the dive-in burgers, and they eat those just poolside on the Lido deck. She said the New York bagel place close to the Lido pool has a good breakfast bagel as well, and tasty pizza options. And she really likes the Tamarind as well, and also the Pinnacle Grill, although she said the Pinnacle Grill gives you so much food that it's hard to eat it all in one sitting. And so I really appreciate all this information, Elizabeth. Thank you so very much for taking the time to help us all out. And if any of you have any other helpful tips for those of us who are new to Holland America, we would really appreciate them. I feel a little bit like a fish out of water just because it's going to be new. I keep looking at the website, trying to see if I've missed anything or anything else that we need to be aware of. And so I really appreciate everything that you share. I know that we're going to love it, and I am really looking forward to it. I really appreciate all of you who send updates. If you are on a ship right now or you've recently gotten back, we would love to hear your experience. If you've got a cruise booked, would love to hear where you're going. Put that in the comments because that's so fun. We can all get excited together, as well as if you've received any other information on your sailing. And finally, if you don't have a cruise booked, it's okay. Just come along with us. We're sailing next Saturday, the 25th. We're going to fly up on Friday night. We were going to fly a round trip to Seattle, but Gordon found that since we don't have to be tested now to fly back into the US, we looked to see if we could change our tickets. And so now we are going to fly into Vancouver on Friday night. It's going to be really late. But then we do have to fly home from Seattle because there are just no flights available from Vancouver to Salt Lake. There's they have like a 6 a.m. one and a 9 a.m. one, and those just aren't going to work. So we're going to fly into Vancouver, and then we're going to take the Holland America transfer back to Seattle to fly home that way. And so if any of you have done that, let me know how that worked as well. I have never flown into Vancouver, so if you've got any tips on that as well, I'd love to hear that. You all are remarkable. Thank you so very much. And if you appreciate these updates, would you please give this video a thumbs up? I'll be talking to you all again really soon. You all take really good care. God bless you. Love you. Bye-bye.